Chris Breezy is a perfect example of a clean-hearted celebrity getting sucked into the murky world of gangs after he became a millionaire megastar. Born in Virginia, Chris Brown's upbringing was a million miles away from the red bandana-draped blood gang dominating the streets of South Central Los Angeles. Inspired by Michael Jackson as a child, Chris Brown was a natural performer, and he would quickly make a name for himself in the music industry, winning talent shows as a child.
I think I did one actual talent show. It was at summer camp.
Oh, okay.
It was at like a summer camp I did.
You better have won. Because,
I won.
Okay, I was gonna say because somebody got bragging rights.
Yeah, I know. I definitely won, and I did. It's funny. I did Thong Song Cisco.
Oh man.
Bro.
And getting discovered as a teenager, eventually moving to New York and shopping his demo tapes to major record labels, resulting in a major deal with Jive Records, alongside the likes of Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake. His first major single, Run It, swiftly rose to the #1 spot on the Billboard charts, and he was instantly a multi-millionaire megastar. From here, he would go on to release hit after hit, landing more #1 songs and huge collabs with other popping artists at the time, like T-Pain. Chris Brown was a megastar with a clean-cut image that made him a brand-safe A-list celebrity with the whole world at his feet. That would all change in 2009, when his relationship with a fellow A-list megastar, Rihanna, would come to a dramatic end as stories circulated of Chris Brown assaulting her.
A police department release says the R&B singer and a woman got into an argument in a vehicle early Sunday. The release says the argument escalated when they got out of the car. Police responded to a 911 call. Officials say they found the alleged victim, but that Brown had already left.
This caused Chris Brown's image in the public to take a nosedive, losing his most lucrative endorsements and turning the public against him. This ultimately resulted in criminal charges.
It's 5 years probation and 6 months community labor for Chris Brown for his beating of Rihanna. The sentence handed down Tuesday by LA Superior Court Judge Patricia Snag, as she also warned the R&B singer to stay away from his ex-girlfriend for 5 years.
Chris claimed himself to have gone from the top of the world to public enemy #1, but interestingly, Chris Brown was able to bounce back from his domestic violence convictions, but ultimately his image was forever tainted. He could never be the clean-cut, singing and dancing darling that he once was. He was now a convicted criminal, and despite never having grown up in the life of crime, unfortunately now, with a stain on his reputation, the streets would come knocking. What's clear is that by the early 2010s, Chris Brown was seen regularly wearing red and repping Fruittown Piru, a notorious blood set from Compton, California. But how this affiliation came to be is open to interpretation and rumors. Some have suggested that this was Chris Brown getting extorted or buying his way into the Blood Brotherhood for clout, while other rumors would circulate that he was actually jumped into the Fruittown Pirus at the young age of 16 after a brief spell in an LA jail where he apparently turned down no squabbles. One clip would even circulate claiming to show Chris being initiated into the gang, though it really seemed to just show him vibing with his set. Interestingly, Chris Brown had been performing with the former child star Bow Wow in LA as early as 2007, and Bow Wow was later caught on camera also yelling on Piru whilst having a public meltdown during the filming of an episode of his reality TV show.
That's over here. What happened?
What are y'all on Piru?
What happened? I just came out like, huh? What?
Online rumors have also suggested that Chris Brown had been hanging out with people associated with the game's music label Black Wall Street already in the late 2000s. This label including artists like Compton Menace, a Fruittown Piru rapper who made an appearance in Tyga and Chris Brown's 2010 music video for the song G Stuff. Another post on a forum would allege that by 2013, Chris Brown had been having blood protection already for years, specifically stating that a rapper called Parlay Star, an alleged Pueblo Bishop Blood, had taken Chris under his wing when Chris first moved to LA, and even stood up for him during a beef with the former B2K R&B boy band member Raz B in 2010. On social media, a Twitter user would mention as early as 2011 that Chris Brown owed his life to Parlay and was paying him for protection, and people on Twitter would also take note of Chris Brown's 2011 song Last, where he raps how he's from Virginia but represents the Pirus. The media would eventually take note too, like Spin Magazine, who would report in June 2012 how Chris Brown had allegedly been throwing up blood gang signs during his violent brawl with Drake at a club in New York City. Soon, gossip outlets like TMZ would also run articles seemingly shocked about footage of Chris Brown throwing up gang signs in the club. Chris was apparently even caught spray painting Fruits Piru onto a wall in Hawaii of all places while on vacation. There were rumors that CB's gang affiliations were actually putting him in danger at this point, with TMZ also capturing Breezy getting pressed by some LA Crips while exiting a club in 2013.
Yo, scary ass Chris. Is that bulletproof? Is that bulletproof? I'm a Crip. Hell yeah, I'm bulletproof. Hey, I ain't never seen get in the car that fast. Yo, I love you, Chris. You my don't act like that.
Then came 2 incidents of shootings a few years later at events that he was present at, one being a concert in San Jose where 5 people were shot, and another a pre-VMA party, the latter resulting in fellow Notorious industry blood Suge Knight actually getting hit by gunfire, as well as an innocent 19-year-old model. The Bloods around Chris Brown would use his connections to get all the way into his inner circle and business endeavors too. A 2017 clip would circulate showing a large group of menacing-looking Bloods that had apparently accompanied Chris backstage to a professional movie set, with Chris Brown throwing up gang signs and the Bloods eating their way through the catering tray.
Hello. We in here. We in here. Yeah, he count money. He busy right now. We lit. Big movies. They got me in already tonight.
St. Louis was popping.
Blood, a whole lot of gangsters.
I need some bookies on there.
Hey,
They got the Bockley bit bookies.
We up in here, though.
yeah, that way.
Yeah, Fruit Town, Athens, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
that way.
Avenue, Piru, all that.
East
We
side,
in this bitch, though. Yeah.
While Chris Brown wasn't himself from the streets of LA or a Blood set originally, he was moving like he had true permission, throwing up the set with confidence and seemingly being accepted by the gang. His lyrics kept referencing his new set too, like the 2013 song War For You, where Briss Breezy raps how he stays in these streets and throws up the hand signs for Westside and the Pirus. Chris seemingly was also willing to put money up for the street figures in LA, one example being reports that he donated 1,000 pairs of sneakers to Compton kids. But interestingly, it seemed that the gangs on both sides of the LA streets were looking at Chris's bank account too, as he was notably seen also giving 1,000 pairs of shoes out as part of a donation for Rollin 60s Crip Big U's Developing Options nonprofit, with a recently resurfaced clip showing accused extortionist Big U doubling Chris Brown's donation from 500 to 1,000 pairs on camera.
Back. If you can go to the club and spend $80,000 on bottles, and you can spend $10,000 to go in the club, but you haven't done nothing to help the neighborhood. You know, this young man just gave out 500 pair of tennis shoes, and he about to give out another 500 pair of tennis shoes.
And then the whispers began that Briss Breezy wasn't just repping a newfound brotherhood in the Blood Gang, but perhaps he was paying for the privilege and was being forced to contribute to the streets for his ongoing safety. Charlemagne the God would claim in a Vlad TV interview that Chris Brown was actually being extorted financially for his blood affiliations.
It makes no sense. Now you just out here getting extorted. You in LA getting extorted. Let's call it what it is. Like, a lot of these guys are just out in LA getting extorted. That's it. You're really paying for protection when you could just pay for protection the legal way. You shouldn't be allowed to wear it. If I was the Bloods, if I was the Crips, if I was the Fruit Town Pirus or whatever.
What's your Bloods?
Fruit Bloods. If I was them, I'd be upset.
However, conversely, respected Piru, Wack 100, would also sit down for a Vlad TV interview, claiming that after 10 years of affiliation, Chris Brown at this point was truly a respected Fruittown Piru native.
Chris is from Virginia, and it seems like this thing came as an adult after he was already a multimillionaire. Am I right?
Definitely. Chris Brown has been about 10 years of him been standing on. I'm from Fruittown, Piru.
Well, he's not from Fruittown, Piru.
Oh, he's from Fruittown, Piru. Has done the things that he needed to do from what I'm seeing and understanding, you know, to get his respect.
Some people on Reddit would suggest that Chris couldn't possibly be a real Fruittown Piru due to his friendship with fellow Blood rapper YG, who represents the Treetop Pirus, a big rival of the set, as the two had collaborated on the song Rodeo in 2020, with many commenting that this collab between two people claiming enemy gangs is proof that Chris isn't really living and dying by these affiliations. The war between the Treetops and Fruittowns is incredibly deadly, as was explained in a Hood War Stories documentary on the topic.
In this episode, I'll be discussing the war between the Treetop Pirus and the Fruittown Pirus. There have been some rift developing between Piru sets in Compton, mostly over women and drugs, but it was quickly squashed. This particular dispute between the Treetop Pirus and the neighborhood Pirus was different. It wasn't resolved, and things began to escalate.
Furthermore, one vlog on Street TV actually claimed to show Fruittown Piru members on their block denying Chris Brown's membership after both him and Soulja Boy claimed to be Bloods.
I don't give a fuck about that Soulja Boy, Chris Brown shit. We don't need y'all, blood on about that. We bracket regardless without no celebrities or none of that, blood. The whole shit is just a publicity stunt to me, you feel me? Like, they just using the hood for fame, and this shit ain't nothing to play with. We got up in jail that had died and shed blood. We need to weed, man. This shit not nothing to play with. Interestingly,
the Fruittowns would even demand payment for Chris repping the set.
Tell him to get Fruittown out of his mouth and pay us. If you gonna get paid for this Fruittown shit, pay us. Cause we the ones that's we making it known for you niggas, bud, on Piru, man. Pay us, bud. Y'all pay-per-view, all that. Pay us, bud.
But despite this, TMZ articles would circulate seeming to downplay Chris Brown's gang membership. The article revealed that unnamed leaders of the Fruit Towns spoke to TMZ saying that they're actually down with Chris claiming that he's a blood because he's hired several of them to work for him, and that Chris comes to the hood and hangs out with them, includes them in his music videos, and he donated 1,000 pairs of new shoes to Compton kids. Rap megastar Akon would claim that Chris Brown's gang ties actually essentially stopped him from reaching the heights that he could have hit with his career.
Because Chris got the talent. Wow. He just needed the direction. Imagine if Chris had Mike's team.
Right.
It would be something different.
And that's big.
But Chris is healthy. Like he got bloods around him. He got little gangbangers around him.
Right.
He don't have the guidance.
Right.
Meanwhile, Chris himself would openly and proudly claim to be a Piru member on his social media, with many in the comments doubting his claims, saying, yeah, he's a Piru as long as that payment keeps coming. And another said, anyone can be a Piru as long as you're paying a kickback, and that only applies to fools with a lot of money. Another said, bro lets a few of them take his money and sleep with his women and acts like he's not from Virginia. However, in 2025, Chris Brown warned his fans not to wear red bandanas to his shows for safety reasons, while still reminding his audience that he is indeed Big Briss Breezy. At the end of the day, whether or not this is extortion is still up for debate. Perhaps Chris Brown has really been put on in Fruittown Piru, or maybe what begun as extortion has flourished into a full-blown blood brotherhood. But while Chris Brown seemingly gained the full acceptance of his gang set, the same can't be said for Gunna.